This chart is a Bitcoin chart, which looks terribly ugly, but this is one of the biggest traps in all of crypto. This is an hourly chart. Right now, we're all staring at the charts, wondering what Bitcoin's going to do next. It's looking really bad. It's looking really red. You can zoom out on the hourly chart, not even that far, and be like, oh, wait a second. You can zoom out even further, and then you're really kind of like, wait, what's happening now is nothing. You go to the daily chart, we're just in this over half a year of consolidation, just waiting for the next big move. And wouldn't it be a shame if during these zoomed in red little areas that happen, especially when we're kind of at the lower trend line area, there are people that are just kind of like, man, it's over. It's going to break down. They're selling here. Then we get a bounce and they're buying here. And then in this entire falling, broadening wedge, this is the repetitive process. Selling because of capitulation and fear, and then buying top. And then this is just kind of an ongoing story. I think this is what's playing out in the markets right now. And no matter how you spin it, we're going to look at the CPI data and everything that just came out today. No matter how you spin it right now, everybody, whether there's going to be a recession or there's going to be a soft landing and no recession, Bitcoin, if you go to the weekly chart now, is the most prime than it's ever been. Look at this. And just to give you a reminder, you can just see from all-time high, I have here this kind of price range down around 18% or so. Well, at this moment last cycle, just to give you a nice little reminder, Bitcoin from all-time high of 2018 area was down around 20% at this time last cycle. And then the cycle before that, Bitcoin was down at this time 2 cycles ago around 16 to 17%. Bitcoin is exactly where it's been in previous cycles at this moment, but I would say with one of the most powerful consolidations going into the halving and beyond the halving, right now testing a 50-week moving average. So these are just some things I want to keep in mind as we start digging into the shorter term price movement. We're going to look at short-term price action of Bitcoin, and here we go. I just saw this post, stop panic selling your Bitcoin to BlackRock and whales. I think people are panic selling their crypto when we get into these red type of days. And I think when you zoom out on a macro, there will be a lot of regret in doing that. But notice, to BlackRock and whales, that's because BlackRock and whales, crypto whales, are scooping up crypto because they see the long-term chart. And they're probably even just like, you know what? Even if we fall to a target, the lower 40s on Bitcoin, scooping it up because they see the long-term chart. It's all a matter of perspective. This is really the headline: cooling inflation seen as not enough to support 50-point rate hike or rate cut. So August CPI inflation, this is where things get weird. It appears to be consistent with a slightly below target. This is Paul Ashworth. He said, on balance, we still think the Fed will begin its rate cut cycle with a more modest 25 basis point cut. So here's the deal. People were kind of like, if the CPI data doesn't come in very well, there might be a half a point cut, right? Now, because that didn't happen, you see the dollar getting a little strength, right? And because of that, we see, especially on a short-term chart, when you zoom in, you see Bitcoin risk on assets reacting negatively. That's essentially what's happening today. This was actually Ashworth also the other day in relation to the jobs report. Jobs report for August. U.S. economy adds 142,000 jobs as unemployment rate drops. And he said, it's consistent with an economy experiencing a soft landing rather than plummeting into a recession. So it's an interesting dynamic happening right now when we look at the US dollar chart, we look at a Bitcoin chart, even zoomed out. And what I mean by the dynamic is you have recession talk, you have soft landing talk, and it's kind of like just we're trading in that environment right now. So there's a lot of short-term volatility. But this, again, to go back to this falling wedge, is why I like doing technical analysis, because it gives us some structure. It gives us kind of a guide to watch things. So the thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to Bitcoin price action in this video, it's not going to be a crazy long video because, let's face it, tracking this wedge is getting out of control. It's just getting so repetitive and crazy. But the reason I wanted to do the video was because yes, in yesterday's video, for instance, we were anticipating the CPI data. I know we had a really nice bounce kind of in the last few days or so, moving to the moving averages. Haven't even tested the moving averages yet. We had the nice bounce, but we were just discussing, if there's a negative reaction just coming down, right? And this move on the daily chart might not be over. So if it's not over, what's something that I'm watching for? The biggest thing I'm watching for is this RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator. Just crazy looking bullish divergence right now on this chart. It's looking really good. And we have the MACD line. And we talked about this in a recent video. You can see a little bit of a fake out. It was cruising to that red signal line, that blue line cruising to the red signal line. We're waiting for that MACD to cross above, getting a little fake out now because of the short-term news events. That doesn't mean we're not going to cross back above and we'll get the bounce we want, but we have to really analyze if Bitcoin continues to the downside in the short term, what happens with this RSI? Can we continue kind of this higher low momentum on the RSI as it pairs with this chart? I don't know what's going to happen today. The daily candle today, this is obviously the candle we're watching, or tomorrow, maybe we fall and we close a candle below these candles. I continually draw my attention to the RSI, what is happening on the RSI in that environment. But at the end of the day, everybody, this is a falling broadening wedge. We go over here. This is Bolkowski, and he does all these different patterns that we kind of go over his data a lot. One thing is true. We have this throwback pullback rate that we've discussed on this YouTube channel, and we have in play, if we get a break to the downside, a busted pattern, which is what we've talked about. This chart shows an example of a busted descending broadening wedge, and you can just see kind of its downward breakout, and then it makes its way back to the upside and breaks to the upside. You see this downward breakout. Everybody's probably freaking out in an environment like that. This is something I just want to keep in mind as we're in this lower territory. I don't talk about something like that as much when we're starting to break through these moving averages, but what we will talk about is a fake breakout to the upside. We always look for the throwback, and that's that throwback pullback rate, the throwback to the upper trend line to test before going higher, or the pullback to the lower trend line to test before going lower. And oftentimes, I shouldn't say often, but sometimes we get a fake breakout and we cruise to the upside. So we have to be really careful right now, especially because this isn't like a 6-hour chart where we're gonna have all of our answers, sooner than later, or an hourly falling broadening wedge. This is a massive multi-month, like half a year falling wedge that it's just gonna really keep playing with emotions. I really think it's going to. All the while, let's just continue watching what US dollar does. Let's keep watching headlines and Bitcoin on this daily. And ultimately, everybody, just to give you an idea, besides the time frame the time frame of the cycle we're in, besides all that, and besides the fact that Bitcoin is incredibly on pace in terms of where it is from all-time highs in previous cycles, related to previous cycles, Bitcoin has massively reset on the weekly chart. And guess what? Has not once been in an overbought environment post Bitcoin halving. And I just want to throw this reminder out there. Every cycle so far, that is what happens post Bitcoin halving. A parabolic bull run. We've not had it. We've not had it. And I don't think, even if there's going to be a recession, we look at recession data so often, I'm not going to repeat it in this video. The markets are going to bottom soon if they're going to bottom because of recession. Soft landing, either way, Bitcoin is primed for a move to the upside. So we prepare for downside, but I know what I see on the macro in terms of the crypto space, and I'm just going to continue just tracking all of these markets and being patient with the markets as things play out. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. I appreciate you. I really do. If you're still out there watching my videos, I understand that we're kind of tracking a lot of the same data, but that break it'll happen. This is the story of crypto. I've been doing these videos for years and years and years now. So it's just a matter of kind of tracking it and anticipating all scenarios. So I appreciate you. I'll see you all in the next video. God bless.